Right, in this class we will be discussing about representation of polynomials and sparse matrices or sparse matrix. So in the previous class we have seen what actually is a polynomial. A polynomial is collection of terms where every term consists of coefficient and the exponent, where every term consists of coefficient and the exponent. So now we'll be discussing about representation of polynomials. That is, how do we represent the polynomials? So can you hear me? Is audio and video is clear? Can you see me properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right? Okay. So the first type of representation of polynomial is sparse matrix representation. Every element, sorry, not sparse matrix. First, we have to go for representation of polynomials. Sparse matrix that will be discussing later. Yes. How do we represent the polynomials? To represent the polynomial, there are two ways: using structure, which consists of an array. The second method is using array of structures. So in the first method, what we do here is we use a structure which is going to contain an array as a member. So we have seen arrays and structures. So array is collection of elements of a single data type, whereas structure consists of elements of different data types. It can consist of elements of different data types. So in this particular method, what we do here is a polynomial is going to be represented by using a structure and which is going to contain the members like degree of the polynomial and an array which is going to store the coefficient values. An array which is going to store the coefficient values. So if you consider this example here is, we are going to define the maximum degree for our polynomial. That means we can have maximum up to 101 degree. The maximum degree for our polynomial is 101. That means you can write up to 25x101 x raised to 101. That means our polynomial can be of that much length, up to 101 terms it can contain. Now structure we are defining. One is an integer member which is going to contain the degree. That means maximum degree or leading exponent of the polynomial. Then another member is coefficient, which is an array of type floating point values. So coefficient is nothing but coefficient, the size of the coefficient array, we are defining it as 101. Because what is max degree? Max degree we have defined it as 101. Nothing but what it looks here is coefficient is an array which can contain 101 degrees, which can contain up to 101 elements. All right, I will just take this over here, copy this, I'll paste it here. Just for explaining how actually it looks when we declare something like this, right? So when you indicate max degree equal to 101, that means the max degree value is being defined as 101. So degree is simply an integer variable. Degree is simply an integer variable which can contain any integer value. Whereas this coefficient of max degree, how it will be replaced here is, this will get replaced like this: coefficient of 101. That means what is this max degree? Max degree we have defined here as 101. So this 101 is nothing but size of that particular array. And for that we are giving a type defined name as polynomial, because we are creating a type defined structure and we are giving it a name called polynomial. By using this type defined structure name, that is polynomial, we can declare our structure variables. Let's say, for example, here we have declared two variables, polynomial a comma b. By using that name here, two variables a and b have been declared. Now this is, for example, this is the polynomial which is being represented. Polynomial 25x raised to 4 plus 12x square plus 2x plus 7. So this is what we want to represent it. Using what? Using this structure representation. So for example, this is what is the representation here. So what are the members of a structure? Members of a structure are degree, one integer variable that is going to contain the maximum degree, and the coefficient array. So if you can see here, this is the entire thing, right? For representation of the polynomial, where the first term indicates degree. So it is being represented. So name, we are giving it as A. Say for example, this entire polynomial, say for example, this entire polynomial is declared as A. You are giving name as A for that polynomial. So this is A polynomial. How we are representing? Keep the maximum degree separated. So keep the maximum degree. What is maximum degree of this polynomial? That is 4. 4 is the maximum degree of this polynomial. So that 4 we are keeping it in the variable degree, because it is an integer variable which can store the maximum degree. Next, how do we represent each and every term? So in this polynomial we have 4 terms. 25x raised to 4 is one term, 12x square is another term, 2x raised to 1 is one term, and 7x raised to 0 is another term. 7x raised to 0 or 7, both are same, right? So what we do here is, here we are going to represent in this part only the coefficients. We are going to store only the coefficients, because what this array indicates here is, this array is only for storing the coefficient values. This array is only for storing the coefficient values. This array is only used for storing the coefficient value. So as the maximum degree is 4, we can store up to 4 different coefficient values. That means the array indexing is starting from, it will go from 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0. Because what is maximum exponent? Maximum exponent is 4. So for the exponent value 4, what is the corresponding coefficient? Corresponding coefficient is 25. So we are going to store 25 here. Similarly, the next term, we are expecting the exponent value 3, but exponent 3 is not present here. So corresponding to exponent 3, what is the coefficient value? Coefficient value is 0, because that term is not there. Anything multiplied by 0 will be 0. So what we do here is, we are simply going to store 0 for the exponent value 3. For the exponent value 3, we are going to store the 0. Next term is 12x raised to 2. How do we represent? For the exponent 2, what is the corresponding coefficient? Corresponding coefficient is 12, and we are going to save 12 in the location. Next, for the term 2x raised to 1, that is 1 is the exponent. So for the exponent value 1, what is the corresponding coefficient? So corresponding coefficient value is 2. So 2 we are going to save here. Similarly, for the exponent 0, for the exponent 0, what is the corresponding coefficient? Corresponding coefficient is 7. So we are going to store the 7 in this location. So that is a simple example for representation of a polynomial using structure. Integer variable containing the maximum degree, whereas this array is going to store only the coefficient values. So if some exponent is not present, just store the 0 in the place of coefficient. So that is first approach. In the second approach, how do we represent the polynomials is using an array of structures. We represent the polynomial by using an array of structures. So instead of using one array for each polynomial, here we use array to store the polynomials, to store all the polynomials. Say for example, a of x is one polynomial which is having terms like 2x raised to 1000 plus 5. So this is one polynomial which is containing two terms. P of x is another polynomial which is containing four terms. That is x raised to 4 plus 10x cube plus 3x square plus 1. So these two are the polynomials. We should represent them using the array. So what we do here is, we are going to make use of array of structures. That is, we are going to make use of array of structures, where every structure, every member of the array is going to contain one term of the polynomial. So this is what is an array of structures. So if you consider one column, it is going to represent one term, another term. So every column is going to represent one term of the polynomial. So as we have two different polynomials here, 2x raised to 1000 plus 5, that is one polynomial. So first term of this polynomial is 2x raised to 1000. So we are labeling this as coefficient and the exponent. So what is the coefficient of the first term of the first polynomial? So first polynomial, first term, and what is its coefficient? Its coefficient is 2. So we are going to store 2 here. So what is the exponent corresponding to that? Exponent is 1000. So we are going to store 1000 here. So first term is successfully represented, and this is beginning of the polynomial. So we are just using some terms called start A to represent the beginning of the polynomial, end A to represent end of the polynomial, start B to represent starting of the polynomial, and end B to represent the end of the polynomial. So coming to the second term of this polynomial, what is second term? Second term is 5. That is nothing but 5x raised to 0. So when you talk about 5x raised to 0, so here the exponent is 0 and coefficient is 5. So for this 5x raised to 0, coefficient is 5 and exponent is 0. So as it is contiguous location of, as we have contiguous locations of memories here, we are using these pointers to identify start of the polynomial A and end of the polynomial A. So ultimately we are going to represent it as polynomial A. So all these terminologies will be using for the lab programs later. So coming to the second polynomial, what is second polynomial? B of x, which is going to contain 4 terms. So what is the first term of second polynomial? See, immediately after this, the next memory location itself we are using. Next memory location itself we are using for representing what? Second polynomial. What is the first term here? First term is x raised to 4. So x raised to 4 is nothing but 1x raised to 4. So what is the coefficient here? This is 1x raised to 4. Coefficient is 1 and exponent is 4. So first term is successfully represented. Then 10x raised to 3. So coefficient value is 10 and exponent value is 3. So similarly, 3x square, 3 and 2, 1x raised to 0, 1 and 0. So to identify the second polynomial, to identify the beginning and end of the second polynomial, we are using these 2 pointers, start of B to identify beginning of the second polynomial, end of B to identify end of the second polynomial. So this is going to indicate the beginning and end of the second polynomial. So which is going to help us to identify the locations of the polynomials. So those 2 polynomials are successfully represented by using array of structures. So 2 methods we have seen to represent the polynomials. That is, first method is using structure. The second method is array of structures. Right, this is just the representation corresponding C code for that. And another thing to represent, to know about the polynomial program is the attach function. How actually the attach function is going to work is, say these are the coefficient and exponent individual locations, and these many terms are already occupied. When already these many terms are occupied with the memory locations here, then we will be having some pointer for the available memory location. So from which location the memory is available. So we are using one special pointer called available, which will point to the free memory location. That means if you want to store the next term, you have to store that starting from that location. Say for example, this same scenario is represented here like this. I have taken it same here like this. So first 3 terms are occupied. So assume these 3 terms are already occupied. Now, if I want to store another term called 25x raised to 15, where I should store that? I should store that in this particular location. Why in this location? Because that is the available memory location. From available memory location onwards, we should save the remaining terms. So how can we save that? Here, from the polynomial array, make use of the available pointer. See, so every available pointer is pointing to two entities. What are the two entities? One is coefficient, other one is exponent. So what this represent? This is going to represent the coefficient, and this is going to represent the exponent. So from the available memory location, what this indicates, it has two parts. Available memory location dot coefficient. That means at the coefficient location of available memory location, store the coefficient. So what is the coefficient here? I'll take it. We want to store 25x raised to 5. Right? I'll take it here to the. This will help us to better understand the things. Yes. Right? This is what I want to represent. We're storing some new term. So that is at the available memory location dot coefficient. So available memory location dot coefficient. This is going to represent coefficient. So we have stored successfully 25 here. Because which term we are trying to store? We are trying to store 25x raised to 15. So this is what is coefficient and this is what is exponent. So at nothing but I am referring to term 25 here. This exponent is referring to term 15. So at this location, so can I, what it is accessing available dot coefficient. So at this location, store 25. So the assignment will take place from here to here. Similarly, exponent 50 will be assigned here. So exponent 50 is successfully stored here. Next, once you use the available memory location, the available pointer will be incremented so that I can store the next term. What is the next term that we wanted to store? Is there any other next term that you can successfully store here? But still, for our example, we want to store here only 25 x raised to 15. If you want, you can go for another term. So if I want to store another term called 5x raised to 10, then what is the exponent? Exponent is 10, coefficient is 5. So coefficient 5 will be stored here and exponent 10 will be stored here. So all these theoretical fundamentals are required to be understood, and these are the attach function. This is the C code. This is the C code for attach. So as I said, this complete I'll be covering it after the third module, because if I tell it C part and again in the linked list to the programming or implementation will be confusion for you. The theoretical part you know it now. The programming I'll be explaining in the third module. So all these functionalities, polynomial addition, GCC code, because without linked list it's difficult to understand. So how do we read the polynomials? How do we write the polynomials? Printing of the polynomial, display, everything. This is main program. So everything will be covered in the third module. That is, implementation will be discussed in the third module. Now coming to the next aspect, the syllabus. Right. So when we look at the next aspect here, so what is the next aspect here is the sparse matrices. As you can see here, the next aspect is sparse matrices. So what basically are the sparse matrices? So sparse matrix is something which is going to contain more number of zeros than the non-zero elements. Right? So when I write some matrix here, right? So you all know that what is a matrix? Matrix is collection of rows and columns. So when you talk about matrix, usually in mathematics we represent it like this, right? So this is one matrix: 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 9. This is one matrix which is having 3 rows and 3 columns. 3 rows and 3 columns. So if there is some matrix, I will write another matrix in the same way: 3, 2 9 0 0 0 1 0 0. Right, for better explanation, I'll make this one also as 0. Now, when you consider here difference between this and this here is, in this matrix we have more number of zeros. We have more number of zeros. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 zeros and 3 non-zero elements. That is total number of zeros. We have zeros as 6 and non-zeros there are 3. So totally there are 9 elements. So a sparse matrix is a matrix which is going to contain more number of zeros. So this is what is an example for sparse matrix. This is what is an example for sparse matrix. So basically what is a sparse matrix? A matrix which consists of more number of zeros, or in other words, less number of non-zero elements. That is called as sparse matrix. The same definition is given here. For this, either you want you refer my notes or from the textbook. Bit number 2.14 from the textbook. Textbook number 2, Seymour Liftchurch. Sparse matrix is a matrix that has very few non-zero elements spread out thinly. So what is thinly means? Sparse means spread out thinly. The meaning itself is like that. The remaining elements of the matrix are considered to be zeros. A matrix with very few non-zero elements or more number of zeros is called as a sparse matrix. So these are the two examples. So one-dimensional sparse matrix. So 10, 000, 0, 20, and 0. So it is one-dimensional sparse matrix or one-dimensional array, which is going to contain 4 zeros and 2 non-zeros. So as the number of zeros are more, it is called as a sparse matrix. Similarly, this two-dimensional sparse matrix. This is one two-dimensional sparse matrix in which we have more number of zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 zeros, right? And 8 non-zeros. 12 zeros and 8 non-zeros. The size of this matrix is 5 rows and it is having 5 rows and 4 columns. So as the number of zeros is more, we are going to call it as a sparse matrix. We're going to call it as a sparse matrix. There are two more variations from the textbook point of view. I'll show those also. Matrices with a relatively high proportion of these definitions I have told. So the first matrix where all the entries above the main diagonal are 0, where non-zero entries can only occur on or below the main diagonal, are called triangular matrix. Specifically, that is lower triangular matrix. This you must have studied in mathematics. So what it says, all entries above the main diagonal are zeros, or equivalently where non-zero entries can only occur on or below the main diagonal. They are called as trigonal matrix. Say for example, if you look at this figure, it will be clear. So this is one trigonal matrix. What the trigonal matrix here is, only on the diagonal will be having non-zero elements, and all the elements present here, they all are zeros. See here, the first matrix where all entries above the main diagonal are zeros. Above the main diagonal, they all are 0. So that is called as a trigonal matrix. So that is called as a trigonal matrix. So if you can see this particular figure here, here we have this diagonal, and here the elements are not shown. So here the elements are not shown. That means they are zeros. If you understood that, they are zeros. All these are zeros. Then it's called as a trigonal matrix. So another variation here is tridiagonal. Tridiagonal matrix. What it says, where non-zero entries can only occur on the diagonal or on elements immediately above or below the diagonal. That is called as tridiagonal matrix. I will explain that with this figure. What is tridiagonal matrix? Second, copy. So tridiagonal matrix is something in which non-zero elements can be present only on this diagonal plus on the line above the diagonal and the line below the diagonal. Only these three lines can have non-zero elements, and remaining all the places they all will be zeros. Above these all locations are zeros and below these are also zeros. Then it is called as tri-diagonal matrix. So only these fundamentals you should know about these sparse matrices. So when we look at the triplet representation and all abstract data type, all everything was there for the old scheme. This is the specific nodes which was there for old scheme. So this, the remaining part and all is not there for you. So for if you want more explanation about this, you can read these notes. And now I'll be sharing these notes with you. But understanding the definitions of the sparse matrices is sufficient for you. Coming to the strings, the next bit about the subject is basic terminologies about the strings.